Give me 1 second.
No, you good, bro.
How
Take your
bad,
time.
dog? There we go. There we go. What's up? What's up? What's up? How's everybody doing? I see people jumping in already. Appreciate it. There we go. See, Booth ain't always do it for me. What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? Big Game James here, Silver Blue Nation on the late night tip. Going to talk some Cowboys football like normal. Going to talk about some Cowboys draft. We did a little bit of it, but we're going to talk some more. And we're going to talk about the after draft, the undrafted free agents. But I got a guy here who I've been keeping tabs on for a nice little bit, Mr. FootsDaKing. We met last season
Yeah.
at the NFL draft, and I had been wanting to meet you. That's my first time I met Vaj, Mark Holmes. I met you, and then we talked, chopped it up, and then we saw each other again up at training camp up in Cali. Seen you out there with your grind. So appreciate your time, Mr. FootsDaKing. Go ahead and describe yourself. Tell you about yourself. Tell me what's going on before we jump in and talk Cowboys football.
Oh man, James. First off, thanks for having me on the show, bro. You know me, just trying to give a perspective. Man, from being a musician to coaching kids to talking football, man. Talking ball. I just really love to do what we all love. You know, our favorite sport obviously is football. Our favorite team is obviously the Cowboys, and just thinking prospectively, how do we, figure out this team? You know, what they're trying to do, what they want to do in the draft, what they did in the draft, making it make sense, making this team really the best roster that it can be, and that's what it is right now, man. And yeah, just a pleasure to talk with you, bro. I ain't doing nothing, man. Just staying out the way. That's it. That's all.
Hey, that's the best way to do it. And see, this is the best way you stay out the way. Being home on the late night at 10:30 at night, chilling and clocking. Hey, you ain't out there at the club. I told everybody you ain't getting hit over the head with bottles. Ain't nobody touching your boot thing. You at the crib talking Cowboys football, and you in good hands with me tonight. You feel me?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right, so let me give a shout out to people that's jumped in. Philly Cowboys 76, Justin Quirrell, Ryan Dye, what's up with you? Philly Cowboys 76. Cowboy Gambino, what's up with you? Boo thing, of course you in there. Stevie Mack as always. How y'all doing? Giving the shout outs. Appreciate everybody in here. So let's without further ado, let's jump right into it. First of all, let's talk about the draft. I mean, you listed the so-called analysts. Some people say it was good. Some people say it was okay. Me personally, I love the draft because it was to me a luxury draft. We already did really good. I feel like in free agency and first time, not really in a long time, but first time we really got some ballers. To me, you got a Randall Cobb, you got a Robert Quinn, which was huge. I prayed that into existence. Thank you. Also, Covington, Hyder. I mean, they just kind of even Ioka. They kind of covered their bases, and then to come back with the draft like they did. Get in Tristan Hill, McGovern, Tony Pollard, Michael Jackson, Joe Jackson, those guys. Then you come back and you finally get a safety in Donovan Wilson. Then you get the steal to me with Mike Weber in the 7th round, and then you get another guy in Jalen Jelks, who is built like Jason Taylor. So what do you kind of think about the draft, and which kind of, if you want to give it a grade, you can, but tell me what you really feel about the Cowboys draft this season.
Oh man, I love the way and what Dallas was able to do in this draft. I really appreciate the fact, like you said, that you covered your base. So you go out, you get a Cobb, so now you're not fleeced to try to draft maybe a playmaking guy or somebody to work the middle. In this draft. We didn't even draft a receiver. And so then you get a Robert Quinn, somebody who in a rotation makes a lot of sense for the Cowboys, right? And so then you double down and then you come back in the draft. Obviously, I was just talking about free agency, but in the draft, you double down and then you get Tristan Hill. And so the Tristan Hill pick may have threw people for a loop because obviously, Cowboys Nation wanted a safety. I want a safety. I was on the table for a safety for a while. But it's pretty clear now, ever since the Cowboys brash and the fan base wanted Kenny Vaccaro, the Cowboys don't value that position the same way that the fans do.
Right.
And it's a sexy position. It's a stopwatch position. So when we see these guys going off the board, we get antsy. And when we see these guys not getting drafted, we get antsy. Not knowing that the fact that, Ryan Marinelli, stood on the table for a guy like Tristan Hill, and that him and Chris Richard were able to come to an agreement over this player should let you know everything that you need to know about this player. So, quick first step, has a little maturing to do, but I think he can be an amazing player. Then we turn around and we hit Connor McGovern. Now, I have a buddy who plays at Penn State right now, and he told me, out of his own mouth, McGovern's strength is unbelievable. A forward playing, refrigerator with arms. He will maul you, right?
Right.
And so what does Dallas want to do? They want to get back to what they do, and that's running the ball. And then the pick of the draft, to me, everybody has their pet cat, but to me, Tony Pollard.
Yes.
I was on him since the Senior Bowl, and it was funny because Will McClay was just talking about, kind of the players who kind of stood out to him, and he mentioned Pollard, and he was just talking about some plays that he made in the Senior Bowl, and it was just kind of like, yo, the Cowboys needed a running back. They needed another player who had juice. You know what I mean, James? And it's just the fact that Pollard has that juice. He has that swag. He can do multiple things. He can return punts. He can return kicks. He's a true running back, so he can run between the tackles, but he can also catch passes very, very well. He's a very good route runner. So I love that pick, and I thought that was a pick of the draft. And then, like you said, jump to the 7th round, and to be able to get Mike Weber, who was probably a 3rd-round talent, but because the way the draft, like each draft has its own story.
Right.
Each draft has its own, character. And because the way that the draft fell, Mike Weber fell and free fell until he got drafted in the 7th round by the Cowboys. And I just call him a lesser Zeke.
Right.
So things aren't looking good for Rod Smith, but I do think that we got younger. I think that, and people got to understand this, the Cowboys are a good team. Like, we're a good team. We're not, 5 pieces away like the Skins or, basically a whole roster away like the
Mm-hmm.
Giants. We're a
Mm-hmm.
good team. So when you're not picking early in the draft, you usually are just a couple pieces away. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of make sure that you marry that thought to the fact when you start thinking about, the Cowboys draft and what you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Especially, a lot of people have been talking about the Tony Pollard pick. I mean, to me, it was crazy. When I did I did a little mock draft. I had the mock draft where either it was going to either be Tony Pollard or Mike Weber that were going to be picked at the running back position. I picked one of those guys. I went ahead and went with Weber because I didn't think that they would actually go with getting two running backs in the game. But the fact that they did, and just covered the bases, I just feel like when you really look at what Weber and Pollard offer over a Rod Smith, it's a lot more. When too many times when I seen Rod Smith, I just seen him getting caught in the backfield, and he was like one of them guys that needed a perfect blocking scheme for him to really get yards. He could catch out the backfield, that was cool, but he didn't really. When Zeke would come out and Rod Smith would come in, I wouldn't get excited. You know what I mean? I'd be like, oh boy, are we gonna lose yardage? You feel me? I want a guy that's gonna come in that when Zeke goes out, first play, he could take it to the house. That's the kind of explosion that I want, that we can keep the defense on their heels. And just imagine that if you got a shotgun with Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, and Tony Pollard back there, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing is juice. That's the word that I've used all off season. It's a player who can come in when Zeke's out the game. If it's Weber, come in and continue to run hard
Mm-hmm.
because that's his bag. Or if it's somebody like Pollard who can just add an extra element of speed, add a different vibe that can put the defense in stress.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. I got a couple people asking some questions. I got one of my guys in here, Gambino. He asked me about Donovan Wilson. When I first saw Wilson and I watched the tape on him, I watched him in some games. I mean, guys on Forcer, good size. He'll come hit you. Got a little bit of range. He had like 5 interceptions, I believe, his sophomore season. But as a guy who's been there 4 years, had an injury in 2017, so he missed that season. But my thought was when I first saw him, man, we need somebody that's really going to compete with Heath or Ioka. Now, maybe this guy can't do it. But I keep on hearing from the higher-ups that this guy may have a chance. He's going to have to probably show on special teams. But what are your kind of thoughts about Donovan Wilson, about the pick? Even though we went the 6th round with him, do you really think he has a chance to actually make the roster as far as game day? Or he's just going to be a guy that, sounded good, but we ain't going to see him?
So he'll definitely contribute on teams. And I like you watch the film. I have one issue with Donovan Wilson. That's the angles.
Mm-hmm.
I want him to take better angles,
Mm-hmm.
but you give him the Chris Richard. I think that's something that can be coached.
Right.
Spacing, angles, kind of play recognition. There were times he was a little slow to filter to the ball, and I didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, when he gets there, he will crank you.
Right.
So you don't have to coach the physical toughness part of it. So, injury always opens up opportunity. I don't know if George Ioka will even make the team.
Think so? You think he'll get cut?
I mean, you got him on the cheap. I got a couple surprise cuts, honestly, if I just kind of looked into the future. But we'll just have to wait and see when it comes to Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
I think he can make something happen, but again, it's way too early to tell. And that safety position is tough, just because the biggest adjustment for him will be the speed of the game.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Well, I definitely feel you on that one as well. Now, I want to ask you about a couple other picks before we talk about some other guys. The 2 guys from Miami, Joe Jackson and Michael Jackson. I like the Joe Jackson pick because one thing I liked about Joe Jackson, relentless, and that's what seems like the theme of the Cowboys, what Brian Marinelli likes to do. He likes to get guys, even with Tristan Hill. I thought he was in my mock draft, and I loved the Hill pick because if you look at some of the players that the Cowboys drafted, I look at it like they may be losing people. So you already know you got your front line, your defensive tackles. I believe they're all on expiring deals or 1-year deals. Malik Collins is getting ready to come up. So for you to get a guy like Tristan Hill with that size, 6'3", 315 pounds, and that first step shooting the gap, that's a guy that's going to be in contract for the next 4 years. And it's a guy that if Malik Collins does leave, you just slide him and pencil him in right in and go. And I think he's going to get a lot of work this year because as much as Marinelli likes to rotate. But when you're talking about a Joe Jackson, you can see him playing a 3-tech and playing a defensive end. It's going to be good because there's so much competition. Kerry Hyder, you got Taco. It's just going to be a real kind of maybe a lot. Dorrance Armstrong Jr., who I think people slept on, and I think if he can get some work, he's going to do some time. But kind of about the Jackson guys, what do you think about them as far as on the defensive line and Michael Jackson at the cornerback position?
All right, so I'll start with Michael Jackson. I really, really like this player. Long player, press man player who will benefit from being in the room and being coached up by Chris Richard. So I really like that player. And I said this a couple times, James. I'll say it on here. I think that he just fell victim to being, let's be honest, at a bad program right now in Miami, or just a program that's kind of just been forgotten about. And he was on a lot of watch lists coming into the NCAA season, but you don't have to pick the interception production. You may not have the looks as far as like the mainstream looks. Now, if you're good, they'll find you. But all in all, I say that I really, really like the Michael Jackson pick. Joe Jackson, again, you hit it on the head. Competition. I think they just want to throw bodies at the position. And like you said, Taco's job isn't safe. Dorrance Armstrong is a emerging player, but I love the way that Dallas likes these players who can do more than one thing.
Right.
Who could play some three, who could play some end. But you got to be stout against the run. Now, the thing about Joe Jackson that you really like is the fact that he did have the sack production. So if you can get him in the scheme, get him learning, the biggest thing with these ends coming in is learning how to play stout against the run. If they could do that, they got a shot.
See, I'm keeping him up on the late night, y'all. He said he was a night owl, and I got him already. I got him up in here already. You feel me?
You got me, y'all.
Hey, but you know what? Like I said, that defensive line is going to be fierce. When I really look at this team, I'm just excited. And I don't want to get too excited because then I start thinking about Jason Garrett. And I just want to calm down for a quick second because I told myself this year I was not going to bash Jason Garrett. I was not going to say bad things about this dude. I was going to say nothing but positivity because we have a good team. And I don't know about you, Foots, but, man, this has been a team in a long time that I've seen talent across the board from starter to reserve. And that's why I'm so daggone excited. When you look at even the practice squad, I mean, that's going to be stupid as far as the players going to be there. And the players we might even have to cut, it's going to hurt because you're going to lose some people. They're going to be some good people. But that's a good thing when you finally look at your team that you'll be cutting talented players and you're still not going to miss a beat. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that you now have improved your roster to where you're planning for the future in a great way. You talk about Malik Collins. Okay, bye, Malik. You talk about you don't know what's going to happen with Byron Jones. Well, if you can get a player like Michael Jackson to emerge, and think about the Cowboys' track record on late-round picks. I want everybody to think about that, right?
Right.
All right. That's a real thing. That's a beautiful thing. So in that, I just say I really, like you said, I really, really like what Dallas has done. And that, again, this team is good, and you got to have solid backups. In order to stay successful, you have to put the system in place, all right, and then you have to see the system through, and I like what they've done.
Yeah, and I'm just, like I said, I'm just trying to temper myself. I've been getting hella excited the last couple of days. It's been going nuts because every time I just keep on looking at the team, I mean, McGovern, I mean, that line.
McGovern is a steal.
Wow, man, I'm telling you, dog. Hey, Foots. When I saw them pick him, people was like, "What?" I had Vach on the show the week before the draft, and he said if you draft an offensive lineman, and Cowboys needed one, if you draft an offensive lineman early, that's a good thing. So then when I seen the tape on this kid, I mean, I'm in Big Ten country, so I see a lot of the Big Ten games. So Big Ten, Penn State. But when I see a guy like Travis Frederick who came from Wisconsin, when I seen a guy like Zach Martin, even though he came from Notre Dame, they still played a lot of Big Ten teams, and those guys were like 3- and 4-year starters. When I see something like that, and then I see a kid who's versatile, was playing right guard and center, coming in and playing great in pass protection, getting better like in the run game, and is stout. Man, dog, when you look at, you got Joe Looney, Philo, they may not even make it, Cam Fleming. That just feels good. And then we're going to talk about a few other guys that they brought in on the undrafted free agent tip. That undrafted free agency tip was crazy. You get what I'm saying? That was like a draft after a draft. So without a further ado,
the guys that they were able to hit on, definitely.
It was crazy. And these were guys that they were projected to have drafted, and for them to fall into their lap and not get drafted. Now, the best thing about it to me is you're getting talent and it's cheap. You don't have to pay them a lot of money, so you don't have to feel squeezed, like you said, and feel like you're in a rock and a hard place. And the guys that you replace are going to be talented and they're going to be cheap. And that's the big thing that the Cowboys are looking for more than anything else. Not spending all that money because they got big contracts coming up with Zeke, possibly Dak, maybe Byron Jones, Amari Cooper. Those contracts are all coming up, so I know they want to stay cheap across the board on the defensive side as much as they can.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so we're going to jump right into one of the guys that they picked up. A lot of people were talking about him. As I thought he was going to get drafted. I was surprised he didn't get drafted, and that really threw me off. But kid, a defensive tackle, he played with Dorrance Armstrong Jr. last year, and that's going to be Mr. Daniel Wise, defensive tackle, about 6'2", 287, 290 pounds. Like I said, I was surprised that he did not get drafted. Kind of your thoughts on him, Foots, and what do you kind of think? Does he have a chance to make this team? Because that rotation is thick.
Upside is what you see with him, right? Now, what has to happen is, again, injury always opens up opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that he has a chance. He just has to come up here and prepare and be in order. Now, watch this. The biggest thing with those defensive linemen is knowing and being able to take the coaching from Rod. If he can do that, he can be like an Antoine Woods. He can be a guy that comes out of nowhere and emerges. So, yeah, I think he has a chance. I really do, James.
Yeah, I'm just checking out a few of these. I'm showing a few of these highlights right now. The kid, man, to me, he's just exciting because, like I said, that's one more guy that's competition. And then you look at, they brought in like a Daniel Ross, who I think is a good player. But now you wonder, does Daniel Ross make the roster?
Does he have a chance? Yeah.
Now does he have a chance to make the roster? I mean, you seen we got Covington. I think he's safe because Covington has upside. But, man, when you see a guy like this, and if he comes in and it starts making some plays like in the preseason or something like that, this is another sneaky guy that can sneak right in on the roster. As you can see right here, him coming in, making plays, sacking up the quarterback, slamming him down, jumping up and down. And he's been a guy that's I think he was a team captain as well. So if you get a guy like that who's a team captain, that's one of those people. And he had an interview with Will McClay. I guess that when he was younger, when Will McClay was doing with the Desperados, he was around him then. So he had a relationship with Will McClay way before this.
Nice, yeah. Man, like you said, the size is good. The twitch is good. Now got to get into your program. Let's see what happens,
Yeah, man. I really, like I said, I really love the tape as you see him out here smacking people. Like I said, dog, I'm a defensive dude, and I love seeing dudes getting smacked up. I love seeing dudes getting slammed on the ground. I like seeing dudes getting beat up. I like seeing that defense just every time that running back get in there is gang tackling. So I like type of guys like him, guys that are intense as you see him going through the line, busting up people.
Absolutely.
Going through the line are intense, and that's what Rob Marinelli likes. Effort guys that are going to keep playing every single play. And with the rotation that he has, guys aren't going to get tired because we'll finally be deep and thick, because that's what really killed us in the playoffs. Everybody was screaming, oh, let's go get a safety. Oh, let's go get a safety. But what happened in the playoffs? Everybody was crying about let's get some defensive tackles because we got gas in the playoffs. Now everybody wants a safety. These are the type of guys we need right here.
Yeah, you got to have it. The Rams O-line mauled us, all right, and being able to get that pressure up the middle, but again, playing the run stout, you got to have it. I'm with you, James.
Yeah, so I like what the Cowboys are doing on that defensive tip right there. So we're going to see going forward what's going to really happen with that. We're going to jump into another guy here right quick as we kind of jump off of there. Another kid that we're going to mention here in a second is offensive lineman. Now, Cowboys, like you said, they got McGovern. They got him as the pick, and you're like, okay, well, you got McGovern. You got Travis Frederick coming back in the fold. You got Joe Looney, who played great last year. Now you're looking at, now we got plenty of depth, but then we got a couple other people that they picked up, and one of the kids was this kid named Mitch Hyatt. Now, the thing
Yeah,
that now
Clemson guard.
now what kind of threw me off was Mitch Hyatt was, I'm thinking you played at Clemson, you was like a 2-time All-American.
Yeah.
How in the heck did this kid not get drafted, dog?
Yeah, so I think it's one of those things, James, that's just like sometimes a look. So with Mitch, you just kind of fall victim to the process, right? And if you don't have, like, I've talked to people a lot who just, if you don't have a name, or if you don't have a buzz, or if your name isn't in circles, you could just be an undrafted free agent. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the good thing about him is, though, he's went against top level competition.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what kind of gets you excited, right, James? And so now it's one of these things that get him in the program, get him around these good offensive linemen. Hell, you want him and McGovern battling for a position, because you get him around these linemen, you get him around pretty much, one of the best groups in the league, and you kind of see what kind of player he can be.
Right. And, I was reading a scouting report on him, and then actually I checked out, kind of what Brian Broader said about him. And he said the reason the kid should have been drafted, and one of the reasons why, as we get ready to go to some highlights right here, one of the reasons why he didn't get drafted was because more of a power thing that was kind of going on with him. Do you kind of see that when you I'm showing some of his tape right now? He's athletic like no other. He's quick off the line, got good feet, good size, 6'5", 310 pounds. I'm sure he can put on some more weight. But do you see kind of maybe he needs to work on the power, maybe like a situation like a Connor Williams had to do?
Yeah, so his ability to anchor isn't great. But he kind of gets in the way. And guess what? There's a place for that type of pro in this league. All right. There are guys who kind of journeyman their way around this NFL, James, by doing that. But you want the strength to improve, and I can see possibly a practice squad guy. Maybe get called up if need be. But what you like about him is that, again, he's played against the top competition. He really has.
Mm-hmm.
But, being able to reach next level, that's his game. Good, quick fitness. Good, quick feet, that's his game. The power, not so much. And it's like you said about those Big Ten O linemen, that's where you're getting guys with power. That's where you're getting guys who anchor down well. So, yeah, really good player there. As far as McGovern, I think Mitch can be a good player, but the power needs improvement.
Yeah, I think that's going to be something that's going to be looked at coming down the line. But as I said before, that's really a good thing when you have a guy like Hyatt that could be just another person that can be somebody who could be a potential player that's down the line, somebody you can groom. This is not somebody you have to worry about hurting you or anything like that, and this is not a guy you have to rush more than anything else.
Absolutely, Jay.
All right, so I'm gonna jump into our third guy right here. We're gonna transition to him, and this is a guy that a lot of people have been talking about lately, and he's been like the freak. Now I don't know how much this kid is gonna play. I don't know how much this kid is gonna play early, or if he's even gonna make the team. But as far as if you're looking at just what this kid brings to the table athletically and the size, it's crazy. So the guy I'm talking about right now, that would be cornerback Chris Westry from Kentucky. 6'4", 199 pounds. Obviously need to put on weight, but runs a 4.3 40-inch vertical. Has all the kind of measurables that Chris Richard wants. What do you kind of think about this kid and his potential, and maybe the potential down the line as far as what he can add to the table?
Man, just let him, I hate to say this, but let him just spend the night with Chris Richard. Please, James. I mean, he has to do it, dude. Let him spend the night with Chris Richard because with that size and with those measurables, again, he could be something extremely, extremely special. 6'4", you can't coach 6'4". You can't. You can't coach 4'3". All right.
Mm-hmm.
So now he needs to learn how to play the position because he is grabby as hell.
Right.
Once he learns how to play corner, the sky could be the limit for this player because he's a good looking athlete, dude. He is. He is.
Mm-hmm.
And he's long. He just engulfs receivers, especially those small guys. And on the outside, you can kind of win with a player like that. But again, he just needs to learn how to play the position. The awareness just isn't quite there. And just real grabby, real handsy.
Yeah, and when I was looking at him, also, it doesn't look like he likes contact. I mean, I've seen a few times where he whipped on some plays. I've seen a few times where he could have made the play on the running back or receiver, and he kind of grabbed him from behind. And I know
Yeah.
that's something that is not going to fly with Richard or Marinelli. But as I said before, this is a guy that down the line, though, if he can make the squad, because he's going to be in some competition even to make the squad. I mean, you got Michael Jackson they drafted. You got Byron Jones, who I know he's nursing the injury. But Cheeto, Anthony Brown, my dog Jordan Lewis is still in the mix, and then they got Tristan DeCloud. They got Alumba, who was out there last year, and he's got good size.
Lumba's a name to watch for sure.
I like Alumba because he's long. He's about 6'3", and he's got long arms. So now you got a stable of tall cornerbacks who you really like. So do you think this year, if he makes the team, do you think he'll get any kind of time on the field, or do you think he'd be strictly like a practice squad guy more than anything else?
Because he is so raw, I could possibly see a practice squad guy. I just don't see him uprooting anybody who's actually played the corner position at a high level for such a long time. So unless there's an injury, injury is always that, that precursor that could get you in. But unless there's an injury, he's gonna need some time to develop. But they're not gonna give up on that size.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Let me give a few shout-outs to some more people in here. I got Cowboy Springs, the U. What's up, Stevie Mack, as I said before. Gambino's in the house. Ron Smith, I seen you in there. Bob Heck, what's up with you, big dog? I seen you in there chilling, giving some love. So we appreciate, like I said, everybody who's in here for tonight. We're just going over a few players that we've been thinking about possibly could make the team. We went through a few already. Daniel Wise, defensive tackle from Kansas, may actually have a shot because of that rotation, and he's going to be cheap. You got Mitch Hyatt, offensive lineman from University of Clemson, who been like a 4-year starter, can come in possibly as a backup, or can rest on that practice squad, gain some weight, and be a threat down the line. You got the cornerback Chris Restery, who's another guy who's a phenomenal athlete, a freak of nature, 6'4". Might got to put on some weight, but you can't teach 6'4" and 4.3 speed. That's somebody who you would love if he got it together. I can't stop talking about him because if he got it together, dog, that's a dude.
That you just can't teach that athleticism, and that he just got to. I see what you mean by he doesn't want to tackle. He doesn't want to stick his shoulder in there, but the athleticism is just too rare to give up on.
Yes, it's too rare, and it's just like, hopefully, them practice squads, they got clear waivers, and that's what I'd be scared about, because you be having a guy that they've been seeing, if he shows up in preseason, it's almost like you got to stash him and don't want to play him in preseason, because if he balls out and has him preseason, them other teams will be lipping their chops like, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and put him on waivers so we can go ahead and claim him.
Yeah, facts, man. I'm listen, this dude. Yeah, you got to figure that out. Hide him, stash him, whatever you got to do for sure.
All right, so we talked about those guys. Now we're going to jump on a little bit of the offensive side. Been talking about a lot of defense, of course, offensive line, but we're going to go with the receiving core now. I want to get your thoughts before we talk about these two receivers about the receiving core. We got Randall Cobb, who we got in the fold. They signed Devin Smith as a free agent. Also, you got Noah Brown still in the mix. Hearns, who's spot who may be threatened. Tavon Austin. Gallup, we know, has been beasting. So, what do you think about our core right now, receiving core as is, before we talk about any of these undrafted receivers?
I love it. So Gallup and no more receiver by committee, thank God. That was a big mistake, and the Dallas Cowboys corrected that mistake early. It's Michael Gallup on the outside, and it's Amari Cooper on the outside. You know, and let the games begin for the slot. Right now, it's Cobb's job, but he's not healthy all the time. And then how do you look at Tony Pollard? Do you look at him as just a true back? Do you look at him as a receiving threat? Do you look at him as a little bit of everything? What are you gonna tell me? What are you gonna tell me about Cedric Wilson?
Oh yeah. Oh man, my bad. Please tell me. I forgot
Yeah,
about Cedric Wilson.
Tell me a little bit about Cedric Wilson and the player that he can be.
Right.
Devin Smith, we'll see. Obviously Noah Brown, but I like this receiving. I like the Cowboys right now would be good to go to play a game.
Yeah, it's exciting because it's like you can do so many things, especially when you got Amari Cooper with the first round draft pick, the trade. So many things you can do. You can slide Amari in the slot. You can move Cobb on the outside. I mean, you can do so many things with this offense right here. And it's exciting because now you feel like Dak's got toys and Kellen Moore. What are your thoughts on him right quick? Do you think he can really open up this offense? Because I'm having a feeling that I'm having this sneaky feeling that Kellen Moore is going to do something this year with this offense. I don't know why, but I just think this kid's going to do something. Tell me the truth.
So I gotta see it. I'm not gonna be. That's the one situation this offseason to where I've said I'm not going to go. I'm gonna wait and see.
You're gonna wait and see.
Now,
so why do you have the hesitation? Why do you have the hesitation?
I feel like he has a plan for Tony Pollard, but I just gotta wait and see. Mm-hmm. I gotta see how he uses all these weapons he has and this, that, and the third, because you don't want to get too cute and not start running the ball. You don't want to do too much and not start, making sure that Amari's getting his touches. Like, the offense needs to go through certain people. Mm-hmm. So we'll just have to wait and see. James, what do you think?
I mean, obviously, he's a rookie. You get what I'm saying as far as play calling. Obviously, he's young. So I kind of worry about, well, man, does he really know what's going on here? He's going to be thrown in the fire. He's going to have a hell of pressure for sure. But I think the good thing about that's going to help him is having John Kitna in the fold. I think that's huge.
That's huge. I think to kind of save him from himself. Yes. I feel like all coordinators need to be saved from themselves at times.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, Kitna is a guy, to me, is one of them dudes that he just seemed like a cool dude. Not just thinking that he's not going to be a guy that can really coach, but he's a guy that, to me, he's just a really cool dude, man. He just feels like that he can really relate to Dak, and he can really feel Kellen Moore. And I think those guys can really mesh. And to me, with the Kellen Moore thing is this. I think the reason why I'm excited about Kellen Moore is because, of course, with Scott Linehan, I just feel like Kellen Moore is going to maybe give Dak Prescott more freedom than Scott Linehan did. Maybe he's going to use more play. I think he's going to play more to Dak's strength as far as in the running game. I think that's going to be huge because when Dak can get out and do things in the running game, our team changes. And I think he's really going to open up the offense in that aspect. I'm hoping that he can really do something with Tony Pollard because he's got to play a lot, to me, in my eyes.
Yeah, so that's the one. So if you looked, his whole thing was Moore's whole thing was he was on board with the Pollard pick. So that's already kind of like going to be the writing on the wall for like Tavon and guys like that. So to me, so now, let's just see it kind of fruition. How do you want to use these guys? What's going to be the sets? Are you going to, as a coordinator, because a coordinator isn't just, drawing up these fancy plays in the dirt. It's knowing certain, down and distance, certain situations in the game, having your go-to calls. What if they take your go-to call away? How do you manage for a minute? How do you manage the middle eight? All of these things that go into football, Kellen Moore now has to be ready to do. Obviously, he wasn't the best quarterback, but he was a good quarterback. And so, I'm not going to say it should be rocket science for him, but we just got to see it happen.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna keep a optimistic eye and an open eye to this. I'm hoping and praying. So, like I said, I think it may happen because there's a lot of pressure on Garrett. I mean, he didn't get his contract extended. We saw what happened in 2013 when that was going on, and he rode back with the 12-4 season. And that was huge with us. But now we have a lot more talent. So I think Garrett, with his job on the line, is probably going to put his hand in there. So I think you're going to see some Garrett mixture in there with Kellen Moore. And I don't think it's exclusively going to be on Kellen Moore this season. I think Garrett's going to have his hand in that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, so so we were talking about receivers. You're feeling good about the receiving core. We're feeling good about the team as a whole. So there's a couple guys that they were bringing up out of the receiving core. They didn't draft, but these are some good players that didn't get picked up. One of the players that got picked up was wide receiver Jalen Guyton. Now that kid right there, man, he's 6 foot 210 pounds, running a 4.3 40. Started out at the University of Notre Dame, transferred to a junior college, and then went over to North Texas and kind of balled out. I seen the measurements on him, as I said before. You see the speed. I don't know if you really got the chance to really check him out, Foots, but what do you kind of think, if you have, what do you kind of think about Jalen Guyton and what he can possibly add to the receiving core, and does he have a chance, because you got a lot of guys on the roster fighting for some spots?
I like him, but I see a practice squad player. He has the measurables. He looked good in North Texas, but I just whose job is he gonna take?
Right.
I feel like there's opportunity on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think there's opportunity on the offensive side of the ball. And again, you know the caveat, unless it's injury. I just don't think that there's that much opportunity over there, James. I mean, he's a good young player, and that's why I said practice squad development, kind of bring him along like you did Noah Brown and some of these other players. But to me, nah.
Strictly practice squad, huh?
Yeah, only because this happens every year, right? You get into these undrafted free agents, and because they're ours and we see these highlights on YouTube, we kind of like, oh man, he could do some things. But then you got to think, Michael Gallup came on last year, so he has a position. So what else can Guyton do for me that Cedric Wilson can't do, that Noah Brown can't do? You know that for whatever reason they love Noah Brown. Well, you know what I mean? And then you start thinking, it's like he's going to have to be amazing to make this team.
Yeah,
he's going to even have to be more amazing to get to the game day roster, which I just don't see happening.
Yeah, I feel you on that, because there's only people forget that they're only going to carry a certain amount of receivers. They're only going to carry a certain amount of cornerbacks, defensive linemen, things of that nature. So for Guyton to come in and actually get on the roster, he would have to be phenomenal. Phenomenal in the preseason, phenomenal in camp.
So where it's like you just can't cut him, and that happens sometimes. But I would have to wait and see.
Okay, so I've been hearing you mention Cedric Wilson. You really like that kid?
I think that Cedric Wilson has a shot to play the slot. Especially watching him in college last year at Boise. Smart player, deep ball ability, catches everything. He doesn't catch everything, but he catches the ball well. I think he has a chance to play the slot, James. I won't go out on a limb and say that he'll beat out Cobb or anything, but I think he has a chance to play the slot. And, we've seen this too, where, kind of big names that we think have that potential to be something special, and they just don't make the team. So that can happen. I mean, but if it did, I think it would be for a guy like Cedric Wilson.
So do you think like somebody like an Allen Hurns could get cut?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how safe his. I mean, You know, he was on another year deal, and it's not going to be a big thing to cut him. So I'm worried. And with the guys that they have younger, because Hearns is like 29 now, and I know he's the feel good story because he had the injury and everything. But I know feel good stories, but we're talking about talent and people getting on the roster and playing in his games. So I know feelings can't get in the way of this talent. What about Tavon Austin? Tavon Austin is on a 1 year deal. What do you think about him? Will you think he make the roster if
He
Pollard
might.
shines?
I think he might be on the chopping block, especially if a guy like Tony Pollard goes out and performs. Um, and I made a video about it. You guys check it out, Cowboys Nation TV. I think he's the one that may be on the chopping block. James, what do you think?
I do. Number one, because he's always hurt. He's been hurt his whole career. He had the injury last year. And as much as the speed that he offers, you see a Pollard who's a 6', 210 pounds. And then you see Tavon Austin, and you see a guy that, when you look at Pollard, dude, his balance, I mean, he can do so many things. Like, you can jump him out of the slot, you can put him out on the outside, you can do so many things, and he's big. And I think that's the key to me, where he could get the nod over a Tavon, because Tavon, as much speed as he offers, he's still small to me. You got a guy who's big and who has great balance. If that guy shows up a little bit, just a little bit in preseason, yeah, Tavon Austin might be gone.
Yeah, facts. Again, Tavon, I've been throwing out a stat, and I hate to be that guy, but played 7 games, and I think his total was like 160 total yards, 2 touchdowns. You can replace that. So that's not, a player that I watched this team move on from DeMarco Murray,
Exactly.
who had 1,800 rushing yards. So again, you can replace that. You can, and you might have to.
Yeah. Well, I got one more guy. Well, I got a couple more guys I'm gonna bring up, and I'm just have you give your quick thoughts about them. They say they like this kid. His name is John Vay Johnson, from receiver from University of Toledo, 5'11", 190 pounds, got that all world speed, 4.3 speed. Do you think he has a chance of just another practice squad player?
Well, the speed guys are different, because if he can stretch the field, he may have a chance. He may have a chance to be maybe. We just, again, preseason, go out, make a play, then go out, make another play. You never know what can happen. Maybe that's your slot player. You see what I'm saying? So the speed kills on any level. Deshaun Jackson has been in the league for, feel like, 20 years, because he can do one thing very well: run past everybody. Right. So, speed guy, yes, they always have a chance. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
So, part of the reason why I love Tony Pollard so much.
Yeah, I you know what? I think we all gonna fall in love with this Pollard kid. And I think the Mike Weber is really going to be good as far as giving Zeke some significant rest and getting significant touches, because he can actually get through the line. He can make plays, and he falls forward like Zeke. To me, he ain't nothing like Zeke to me, but he built and looks like Zeke. If you just look at him right quick with the one cut in his feet, he looks like a little Zeke.
He does. Yeah, man.
So I got a couple of offensive linemen. The feel-good story everybody kind of been talking about has been Larry Allen Jr. Now, I'm going to talk about him just because of the name, and a lot of people are like, oh, and I even posted it, Larry Allen Jr. Larry Allen posted his pictures with him, and everybody was like, yeah, Larry Allen Jr., but you know what? He played in the Ivy League. That's not really a league that is going to be scary, and he didn't really dominate. Do you think he's just kind of a feel-good story as well, doesn't have a chance, or could he just stash him on the practice squad and they just say, well, let's keep him because he's Larry Allen Jr., maybe he has some potential?
I think he could be possibly a stash player, but then when you watch him, it's rough. Because it's not so much him, it's the competition he's playing against. But I think he's a good player, James. But his size isn't ideal, and when I look at him, I just look at his build, and he's not built the same as his dad. So, it's definitely a feel-good story, but to sit here and say that he'll be on the team, I wouldn't even, say that. You know, I wouldn't even say that. I wouldn't say that, James. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not.
He says, "I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna
Nah,
do it."
absolutely not.
All right, so let me. I'm gonna ask you a couple of things. Like, so Morris Jones-Drew gave a little prediction. A lot of people have been talking about. He predicted the Cowboys going 12-4. We of course we have the little daunting schedule. A lot of people are tripping. We didn't get back-to-back games. We got 3 games in 10 days. What do you think kind of the schedule plays out as far as the record? If you could give a pre-record for the Cowboys, just what you've seen, what do you think the Cowboys could end up being based on the potential, what they look like, and staying relatively injury-free?
Oh man, I went 11-5, 12-4. I mean, the team isn't far away. I don't get why people think it's such a. The team isn't far away, James. So getting a Tristan Hill made you better because he adds to the juice. He comes in the rotation. He's gonna make plays. He'll come in fresh and he'll whoop a guard every now and again.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a Tony Pollard to come in and run a 5 out and take it to the house, that makes you better. That makes everybody around you better. So yeah, man. I mean, based off the draft, what happens every year is you have a draft, and then people start having these lofty expectations for teams, and it's like some of these teams don't know how to win. Well,
Mm-hmm.
guess what? The Cowboys do. So nah, I like that a lot, man. I really do.
All right, all right. Well, hey, I appreciate your time. We got a little late night tip. I know
Nah,
you
definitely, man. Thank you for having me, bro.
definitely appreciate you coming in and chopping it up with me. You know, your thoughts with the team and things of that nature. Before we get out of here, let me give a few shout outs, and then I want to have everybody where they can check you out if they don't know already, because I've seen quite a few people will recognize you in the feed. But shout outs to everybody that was in here: Cowboy Spring, Donovan the U, Stevie Mack, Tariq Salim, Boo Thing, that's Peter DeLeo. What's up with you, dog? I haven't seen you. Tyler Middleton. Appreciate everybody that was in the feed and listening to our quick little talk about the Cowboys and undrafted free agents and guys who have a realistic chance to making the team. But
Yeah.
Foots, tell them where they can find you on YouTube, or what you got going on music wise, Cowboy tip. What you're going to be doing going forward as far as training camp again this year. Just kind of give a lowdown of what's going on with your where they can find you at.
Oh man, you guys can find me at Cowboys Nation TV. You guys can find me at Foots times Coles FOOTSX COLES. I'm just doing a bunch of topics on the channel, man. Shout out to you, James. You guys make sure you appreciate James. He does amazing work, and he's really an amazing person. Met him in person, hit it off right away. So any chance we get to, just share our thoughts and our vibes, that's what we want to do. And it felt good doing that tonight, man. I'm a little sleepy.
That's all good.
I made sure I really wanted to push through for this joint. Just keep supporting y'all. You guys, I say all the time, but you guys trust our thoughts and our vibe and like what we think about certain things. So it feels good to have you guys supporting us. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. We definitely appreciate all the love. Everybody tuned in tonight. I said it was a late night tip. It's about midnight, and we still had a nice little crowd in here. So I definitely appreciate all the love. Continue to go out there and like and support Silver and Blue Nation, Big Game James. Like and support our YouTube page. Is growing rapidly, and we really like that and the support that you guys give. Donations, we love them when we take those too. We got to donate to continue to do what we do out here and grind for y'all and get that great footage. So we're trying to make it like everybody else. So whatever donations you'd like to give as well, I definitely would. Silver and Blue Nation would take that and do any further. Now I want to ask you real quick before we got out of here, Foots. Are you planning to go to training camp again? Are you planning to go any games this year? What's going on with that tip?
I'm actually going to be at the preseason game in Hawaii, but training camp I'm
Nice.
not sure yet. So I'm trying to map that out. But once I know, everybody else will know as well.
So you're going to the preseason game, Hawaii? How you pull that off?
Well, me and my dad are going out there for a trip, and it just happened to be around the same time that it just happened to be around the same time that they were playing. So we said we're gonna buy tickets and go, man.
Oh well, you a lucky man. I'm now mad and jealous. I probably should just hang up on you.
Ah,
Hey, before you get out, who Cowboy Spring said get some foot. He said Foots get some sleep, dog. So I'm gonna let Foots go so he could get some sleep out here because I know he be doing his music thing. But once again, we appreciate everybody who tuned in. Continue to tune in for the Silver and Blue Nation. We got more shows ahead. We got more things ahead. And salutes to everybody. Appreciate you, Foots. And thank you for everybody tuning in. And we will talk to you soon. Signing off, Silver and Blue Nation. Big Game James, FootsDaKing. Signing off.
peace.